In this video, I'm going to walk you through how to create a workflow to actually create a video database for your YouTube channel. So that way you can look at a glance at different things for your YouTube videos, such as your tags or descriptions or a few other things we're going to try. I'm going to actually show you my process here as opposed to just showing you the end result. Hopefully this will kind of give you an idea of the things I'd go through and my thought process as I'm making these. Before we get started, you do want to make sure you have a few node credentials set up. We're going to be using the YouTube API, Google Sheets, RapidAPI if you want to use the transcripts, and Chat GPT or OpenAI for some analysis stuff. So I will link a few of those up in the corner. I've done videos for all of those. I would suggest to pause this, go through those, set those up first, and then come back. I'm also going to be using some of the workflows I've posted previously, so I'm not going to be completely from scratch. I will link those in the description below, so you'll be able to just copy and paste from there if you want. And then there will also be a link for this workflow at the end. Before we actually start building the workflow, I wanted to go through the questions that I typically ask myself when I'm making these, so that way you kind of have it in your mind as well, and hopefully will help you figure out what the workflow you want to do, how you want to build it. So first, what do I want to do with this workflow? In this case, I want to create a YouTube video database so I can quickly search things or see things I missed, such as missing tags. And how do I want to start it? Manual trigger. So like if you want to do it based on a schedule or an email coming through or a message, whatever, you would just figure that out now just so you had a general starting idea. Then what do I need in order to do it? So I need to get the videos from YouTube, get the transcript through a RapidAPI in this case, and then use AI to analyze the transcript to get the key topics and sponsors if mentioned. And then what do I want to happen at the end? I just want to update the Google Sheets with all the info. So I know it sounds silly and simple, but just getting this general guideline down can help keep you focused as you're building it. I want to include that because the process behind this can help when you're trying to make up your own workflows. With that out of the way, let's go ahead and start building. So in general, what I plan to do is go to my YouTube channel through API, get all the videos on my channel, and then go through each video on the channel and get information on it, such as like the title, description, the tags, and then get the transcripts, and then ask Chat GPT to go through it and get like the key topics. Like if I mention anything about sponsors, show the sponsors or say no sponsor, and have a list on there to like the date it was published, just for reference. So before we start with here, I want to actually go over to Google Sheets. So you can do this for other databases if you want. So like if you want to use Notion or Airtable, you can. But with Notion, I noticed that it doesn't let you put in the fields or records, whatever you want to call it, when the characters are over 2,000. So like if you want to put all the transcripts in there, if you have a longer video, you're going to hit that pretty quick. I didn't seem to run into that with Google Sheets or Airtable, so those are the two I would recommend. But in this case, I'm just going to use Google Sheets. So we go over to Google Sheets. I'm just starting with a blank page here, so I'm going to name it YouTube Video Database. Then I'm also going to name the sheet at the bottom as Video Database as well. And then across the top, we're going to make some headers. So I'm going to name the first one video URL, title, thumbnail, which I'm going to show you a fancy trick to get the actual video, the image to load up in here, which is cool. Then I want to have the description, tags, and then I'm going to use AI to get the, I'm not going to use AI, the RapidAPI to get the transcript. And then I'm going to use AI to get the key topics covered in this video. And then if there are any sponsors, I wanted to pull that out. And then I got to have the video ID. Make sure you put it in the same way as I just did, lowercase v, capital ID at the end, all one word. What I plan to do is use this video ID as the key for this database. So I'm going to reference this to make sure that the video ID is on the database. If it is, it'll continue. If it's already filled out, then it won't, kind of a deal. So just make sure you have this set to video ID. And then just for an example, I'm going to throw in the thumbnail URL just to show you what I'm trying to do. And then we're going to take that out. Thumbnail URL. Okay. So then I'm going to set the first row with a fill color of a light blue. And then I'm also going to go to view, freeze, one row. So that way it always stays up there for us. Now with the Google Sheets set up, now we can go to n8n and start our workflow. So go ahead and name it something appropriate. So YouTube Video Database, for instance. And then we're going to add the YouTube API or YouTube node. And then we want to choose Get Many Videos. And then by default, this is going to be how it comes up. I'm going to limit it to 1 just for now. Just so as we're setting this up, we only have to deal with one video at a time. We'll switch it over to return all. Now, one thing I was going to try to do is implement a filter here. So that way it would return videos based on the publication published after or before, but these aren't working. So I'm going to have a different filter set up for that. But for now, let's go ahead and get that one video. It's return one item. As you see, it's how to connect to Airtable. So it's my most recent video. What I'm going to do is pin this. So that way we're not constantly calling YouTube API to get this information. Now, for example, here, the published date, if you can see, is 11/28. If I come over to here and say published before, and then I just put in today's date, hit OK, execute. Because I pinned it, it's going to yell at me here, unpin. So just say unpin and test. It doesn't come back. So I know that was working, it's there. It just doesn't work. So if I choose published after, and then choose, say, November 1st, and then run it again, nothing. So something's going on with that. So I'm going to show you a different way to fix that. But anyway, took off that filter. So now we have just one coming back, and then we're going to pin it again at the top right. Go back to Canvas. We now have YouTube. If we set up a filter, we can then drag over this PublishedAt field and then make sure it's under date and time and say after or equal to. And then you could set this up to be like maybe run this once a month. For instance, for now, we're going to say December 1st. Because this video was published in November, it's not going to pull anything back. So you kept 0, discarded 1 item. So that way you can filter out based on the month if you want. I'm going to switch this over to just the beginning of 2025. Just for example. So now it kept 1, which is all we had in this case, and discarded none. So that's one way you can filter it out and just run this like once a month. Come in here, December, January, February, whatever. Oh, forgot to name this. So we're going to name it to be filter based on PublishAt. Then next, what we want to do is actually add the video IDs to that database we created in Google Sheets. Go to Google Sheets. We want to append or update a row in a sheet. So this way, if it already exists, it's going to add to it. If it doesn't exist, it's going to just add a new row. So video database. I was planning to do this all like to show you the whole process, but I ran into a bunch of rabbit holes. So I'm not going to do that. I did go through it once, but figured we'd just go through it all again. No, not video hero. Okay, so under the column to match on, we want to choose video ID. And then video ID needs to be dragged in here. So over here under the filter, choose video ID. Now this will work, even if his filter brings back many videos, it's still just going to do it one at a time for each one of these. But because I only have it set for one right now, that's all it's shown. One item right here. Okay, so if we execute this, it's gonna add the video ID to that database. And if we look here, video ID. So like I was saying before, we're going to use this video ID as a determining factor if it's on this, and that's how it's going to call the APIs to get other information that we need. We could technically add in the description here and the title, but I'm going to do that in a later node. And the reason we're adding it here, I was initially just going to skip this part and just go through a loop and just add it in. Not actually a loop, sorry, a sub workflow. But because the sub workflows were all completing around the same time, it was actually overriding the first row. So even though I was sending in 3 or 4 videos at a time, they all completed around the same time, so they kept overriding the first row. So I'm adding this on here to make sure that that video ID is at least on there somewhere. And even if it exists already, it's not going to change anything because I left all these other fields blank. So the only thing it's making sure is this video ID is, it's either adding or it's just verifying that it's there. It's either appending or updating. So, and then we're going to check to make sure that if the row is there, if one of the fields is already filled out, it will skip it and not do it for the rest of the workflow. We're going to add another Google Sheets, and we're going to say get row in a sheet. This is going to be a little weird, I know, but you'll see in a moment. So we want to filter it and make sure that the video ID matches the video ID here. And then when we execute that, we should now get all the fields. And notice how this time we're getting all these blank fields now, whereas before we just had the video ID. So we are not going to check to see if one of these other ones is filled out, meaning that if it's filled out, we already ran this workflow and we don't want to run the APIs and everything for it again. Okay, so now that we have the row, we want to then do an if statement. Put the if statement, and then we want to check one of the fields that we know we're going to fill in with the AI later. You can either choose like transcript or tags or key topics. I'm just going to do transcripts. And then we want to change this from string to, from is equal to, we want to say just is empty. And then if we say execute, if it's true, meaning that the transcript is empty, like you just see this double quotes, it's empty. If false, it would go down a different path. I'm just going to put this in here just so we are clear. So if it is false, meaning that, oops, I forgot to put this in here. Okay, so if transcript is empty. Okay, and then obviously name it something else if you didn't do transcript, but pretty logical there. So if it's empty, it's going to continue on, go through the whole AI stuff, get that transcript and put it in. If it's not empty, it's going to go down here and just skip it. So that way it doesn't use up your API credits for RapidAPI or your Chat GPT credits. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is actually get the video information from YouTube again. So in this time, instead of getting many videos, we're just going to choose get one video. So bring up the YouTube API again, and then choose get a video. And for the video ID, we can just grab from this previous node. So video ID, put that in there, and then we execute it. And now it gets us pretty much the same information, but this time we're actually getting the tags as well, which we were not getting under the get many. So like we get the thumbnail information, but that's it. We don't get the tags. And also if you're interested in it, I'm not going to bother, but if you want to, you can put in the stats as well. So just add another column in the Google Sheets and put those stats if you want. But that is where you can find it if you want. So now that we have the title, description, and all that stuff, we now want to get the transcription. So I'm going to go back to a previous workflow and copy the nodes that I need. Again, there will be a link in the description for that workflow if you want to copy it. We want to go to video info, and then I'm going to copy these two nodes. So the get transcripts and the combined transcripts is the one we want to use right now. Go back, video database. Okay, paste it in here. Okay, so now we have the video ID. We're then going to get the transcripts for that video ID. So let's go ahead and execute it here, see if it processes. It did not, because it did not like that video ID. Okay. So then we grab the video ID from the YouTube, the get video, and then we execute the step. And once we have it, we want to pin this again, so we're not using up our credits. Then we go to combine transcripts. Let's go ahead and execute it, make sure. Yep, there we go. Okay, so we now have the full transcripts. Next, now that we have the transcripts, we're going to add a Chat GPT node, or OpenAI is what they have it in here. And then message a model. And then for the model, I'm just going to choose Chat GPT 4.1 mini. You can choose whichever one you want. That's fine. So the main thing we want to change is under the options. We want to make sure that the output format is switched to JSON object. So that way we be able to use it in other parts of the workflow later. Now, as far as the message and for the user and system, I'm actually going to use Chat GPT to create the prompts for me. So if you ever see me using Chat GPT or the code nodes, I usually use Chat GPT to come up with that stuff. Not gonna lie. So this was the Chat GPT prompt that I use just for normal Chat GPT here. Can you help me create a prompt for Chat GPT node in n8n when I am going to provide the transcript for a YouTube video and I want to return in JSON the key topics covered in the video, and if sponsored was mentioned, provide its name, otherwise return no sponsor. And I'm going to add into this as well, if there is no transcript, return no transcript provided, or the key topics. And I'm also going to put in here to please output the key topics as a single string with each topic on its own line. So that way it's in a string format. I won't need to do anything fancy with it. When I was doing this before, I actually had another code node after this that combined all the keywords, key topics, sorry, and it would put it on each individual line. But if I can just have ChatGPT do it now, then why not? So if you haven't used ChatGPT 5, it is a bit slower than 4. We'll give it a moment to fill its things out here. Then we're going to be coming back to ChatGPT to help consolidate the tags. And if it doesn't have tags, then I wanted to actually return no tags. So that way, at a glance, I can look at that database and see which videos have tags. Now we have the prompt here. We're going to copy code, go back to our n8n, put in the prompt here. And then we need to take out this bottom part and put in the combined transcript from the previous node. If we scroll down, we should see the whole thing in there. And if we run this, we should hopefully see something where it returns key topics and sponsor. So perfect. That's the way I wanted it. Okay, so again, we're going to pin that so we're not using up our ChatGPT stuff. And then the last thing we're going to do is combine the tags and check to see if there are tags. And if there aren't, return the no tags. So in this case, I have tags. So they are listed here. If it doesn't have tags, this field doesn't exist. So it's kind of one of those kind of make sure it exists. Otherwise, if you try to include it somewhere else, it's not going to work. I'm going to go back to Chat GPT and paste in here. I am working on a n8n JavaScript code node. Can you help me create JavaScript code to consolidate the tags into a comma separated string? If there are no tags provided, please return no tags. Here is an example of the JSON the YouTube API provides for the video. And then I just paste the whole thing in. So we'll give it a moment to do its thing. That was nice and quick. So now this is the code to consolidate the tags. Okay, so I didn't like how it was set up like that. I want to say, can you modify the so it includes the rest of the information that was passed to it? So this way we don't have any issues where it can't access some of the information. It's just good to have all this in one place. Okay, so we're actually going to put this after the get video node. That way that code works correctly. So code, JavaScript, paste it in. So now it's going to pass all the information through, and at the very bottom, we should have the consolidated tags. So here's all the tags in one thing. So you can actually just copy and paste it into YouTube, for instance. Okay, so let's make sure we have what we want. We get the video, title, thumbnail, we'll get that in a moment, description, tags, transcript, keywords, key topics, sorry, sponsors, video ID, thumbnail, URL. Okay, so we should have everything we need to go. So we're going to put in one last Google Sheets. We're going to append or update a row in a sheet. Same deal, choose the video database, choose the video ID for it to match on, and then go back to the get a video, drag over the ID, and then for the video URL, we have to do a little bit of configuring here. So if we look at the typical YouTube URL, we have all this stuff, and then v equals, and then this is the video ID. We're going to actually just copy all this other stuff beforehand, paste it in there, and then grab that same ID and put it at the end, and just so it stops yelling at us. Let's execute that again. So now we got the video ID, and we should have a video URL in there now. You got to make sure that there's no space here. Now if we run that again, now it's a URL. Anyway, title, if we go back to that get a video, we can grab the title and drag it over. The thumbnail, I'll show you in a moment. Description. The tags. We go, let's actually name these here. Okay, consolidate tags. Hopefully I spelled that right. Combine transcripts, okay. So if we go down to tags, we should now have consolidate tags. Scroll all the way down to the bottom and get consolidated tags. And then transcript, we want to go back up to combine transcript. Drag that over. Key topics. We want to go to the Chat GPT, grab the key topics. And then sponsor. Now the thumbnail URL in the get video node, we get the thumbnails. So as you can see, there's a bunch of different ones with different resolutions. Since we're just putting this in a Google Sheet, I'm not going to use one of the higher res. I'm just going to choose like medium, for instance. But we're going to choose the URL and drag that over. And if we execute this, that should all fill out. Come over here, it's all ready to go. Now, as far as the thumbnail picture here, we're actually going to do a little bit of a formula. So we hit equals and type in hyperlink. It's then going to look for a URL and then a link label. For the URL, we're going to end up using the URL for the video. So I'm going to put in A2 for now, and then comma to go to the other part, and then type in image. Is then going to look for a URL. So we're going to use J2. Okay, and then hit enter. And then whenever you do this, you're going to get a little alert up at the top. Warning, some formulas are trying to send and receive data from external parties. That's okay. It's downloading images from another website. That's fine. Say allow access. And now we get a little thumbnail. If you expand this cell, the thumbnail gets bigger or smaller. Something neat. You can always click on it and actually go to the video. Or if you want to click on the URL there, whichever one. Now, at this point, we can just go ahead and delete this since we don't need it. Because we're actually going to do this formula inside n8n. So just an example here. We're going to delete this out of here. Go back to thumbnail here. So for A2, that was the video URL. We do need to make sure this is in quotes. So put put one quote, it automatically adds a second one. And then copy this video URL that we already had set up before. And then for the image, same deal. We're going to do 2 quotes. That time it didn't add the second one, so just make sure it's 2 quotes in there. And since we already had the thumbnail URL down there, we're going to add it in there. Okay. So now it's the exact same formula, but we're manually putting in the information as opposed to putting it in Google Sheets. So we come back over here, we're going to delete all this out. I'm actually going to delete the thumbnail URL because we don't need it anymore. And because I did that, we're actually going to need to refresh this page. Like if you look over here, it's going to be columns are outdated, refresh. So just hit this little refresh icon. And now we don't have that thumbnail URL anymore. If we execute this, it's going to update. And now we're ready to go. It has the thumbnail in there for us. It has the information manually filled in from the workflow. That's why we don't need the video URL over here anymore. I thought that was kind of neat. I found that out while trying to make this video. And we also have the tags, and we have the transcripts. The key topics are in each one of their lines. If we expand that a little bit, we can see sponsors, no sponsors. So just to show you that this would work, we're going to go back to combine transcripts. And for the time being, I'm going to edit this and add in at the end, sponsored by me. Save. We're going to go over to here and run that again. No, I can't do that. I'm sorry. Because we're doing it through Chat GPT, we actually need the Chat GPT node to run. Because that is where it's picking up the new sponsor. So if we execute this whole workflow again, it automatically went down because we have the transcripts in there. So we know that's working at least. So just for example, I'm going to delete the transcript. You're seeing something in there because the tags are running over. But if you look, it's empty. We run this again. I got this error when I was trying to run the YouTube. It may be because I'm running it so frequently. That's why I usually suggest to pin it. Otherwise, you can try to sign in again and see if that clears it. Otherwise, I think it was like a 5-minute wait, which I really hope isn't the case because I don't want it to stop this and start it up again. But we'll see if that works. So execute. Yeah, that did it. Cool. So if you ever get that error, just try signing in again and good to go. For now, I'm going to pin that just so I don't run into that issue again. And we're going to execute the work step. Now, again, I did add the sponsor at the end. So in theory, it just finished. If we go over here, it now says sponsor Steve. So if you ever say sponsored or sponsored by or whatever the case may be, it should pick that up for you. So now we have this working for one video. But if we were to try to run this for all the videos on the channel all at the same time, it would probably crash because it takes a moment to run through all these nodes. So what we're actually going to do is create a sub workflow and have all these nodes in that sub workflow. It will go through here, get the filtered, add it, and then kick over to the sub workflow. That way it can run this many, many, many times all at the same time and not mess this main workflow up. So if that didn't make sense, I'll show you what I'm talking about. If you haven't done any sub workflow stuff before, it's a little tricky, but I'll show you. So I'll look up sub, execute sub workflow, and we actually want to choose the trigger first. And when executed by another workflow, choose that. And for define using the fields below, we want to only accept the video ID. And you got to make sure it's the exact same name as this. So just go back to your Google Sheets, copy this, and paste it in here. And then go back, connect this to this node. And then go up to the main branch again and execute sub workflow and choose the action this time. And then from the workflow, make sure it's from list, and then choose the same workflow name that you named this setup. YouTube video database is what I called it. And it's wonky too, because you need to make sure you save it. Because if you notice, it wasn't asking for the video ID, but now I saved it, it is asking for it. So we would put in the video ID and just grab it from that previous node. And then one thing you want to do is make sure you do, well, a couple things here. Run once for each item. And then for the options, we want to turn this off after we're done verifying it works. Otherwise, if you have 50 videos coming through, it's going to sit there and wait for all 50 of these to finish. For the time being, just to make sure it works, we're going to leave this on. Again, make sure you hit save. Then I'm going to go back to here and delete this out. So it's starting fresh. And I'm going to unpin these. So at this point, we have one video going through. It's going to go through the same exact workflow, but in this case, if there's multiple videos, it's going to go through this one by itself many, many times, all at the same time. When you do this, you want to make sure that you switch this. You should have as drop-down, pick the from when clicked. Hit save again, and then execute. So it's going to spin there for the duration that it will run this workflow. And as you see, it successfully, and now it's there. And if I turn this off, so it doesn't wait anymore, and I delete this, save it again. It's very important to make sure you hit save whenever you're dealing with sub workflows in the same thing. If you want, you can break this out into its own sub workflow. If that's less confusing, whatever, you can. It'll work just fine. But if we execute this now, see how it instantly finished. If we go back, there's nothing in here yet. It's still running. But there it is, pops up. So that is essentially the workflow. I'm going to go ahead and run it so that it does 10 videos instead of just the one. I'm going to unpin it. So now it's all live. Make sure this is set to something appropriate. So yeah, it's for the whole year. So if we execute this, you see how it has 10 items, 10 items, 10 items, 10 items. Come over here, we have all those popping up. And you see them popping in as they're finishing. . And then a nice thing about this, if you look at a glance, you can do Control F and say no tags. And any of them that don't have tags, you can now go back and fix it. So you actually have tags in there to help out with videos getting found and whatnot. So, and if I just want to go ahead and just do them all now, because I only have 20 videos. Well, this will be my 20th video. So we'll see how that goes. There's a few more popping in. But it's going to be very convenient to be able to have that. Apparently I didn't do any tags for all these early ones. That one I did. But yeah, now I can go back and update these videos with tags, and hopefully they get more visibility. And then if you want, you can change how these cells work. So like right now, if you look at the wrapping, they're all text wrapping. So they're just overflowing onto the next cell. But if you want to have them as wrapped, so that way it's all here, you can then expand the cell and be able to see it. But you can do that for any of the cells. Now you can do like a Control F and see which one did I talk about API templates. So there's the ones that I talked about, the API template. So it's a nice, quick, convenient way to go through all your videos, be able to reference stuff, see what you talked about, whatever the case may be. You can always add more and change the chat prompts and everything. But I just want to show you my kind of thought process as I went through this, just to show that like I don't come up with those code nodes myself. I use Chat GPT. I'm not going to lie and take credit for those. And same with the Chat GPT prompts. Usually I use it for that as well. But once it's in there, you can obviously modify it, but at least gives you a good foundation and a good base. While editing the video, I realized that I forgot to put in a date on this database. So I wanted to take this opportunity to show you what it would be like to modify this workflow to add more fields or add new nodes, whatever the case may be. So for instance, on here, what I'm going to add is date uploaded. So what I realized is that the PublishedAt date that the API brings back is actually just the day you upload it. It doesn't tell you what day you made it public for viewing, for instance. So this date uploaded is actually going to be that PublishedAt field. Now, whenever I add a new field, it's going to mess up the Google Sheets where we're adding things to it. So that'd be this one and this one. We'll need to fix that. So in order to actually be able to see these again, because whenever these sub workflows run, you don't actually see the process through and you can't drag the fields over like normal. So because we did it the way we did it, where I have this set up as just json.video. So whenever it's just JSON, it's just whatever is to the left of that, the most recent node is just grouped under this JSON flag. So as long as you don't specifically reference this node anywhere past, you can do what I'm going to show you. So we're going to essentially take away these connections. So hit the little trash can next to here and here, and then reconnect these two Google Sheets. And then what I'm going to do is change this back to 1 because I was messing with something. Okay, so make sure you save it and then execute. It's going to yell at us like I said it was going to. You'll come into here, you'll see this little triangle. It says columns are outdated. Click on this little refresh button, and then now you'll see date updated or date uploaded will be here. We're not going to change it on this one, but you still need to fix it on any of the ones where you're adding information. This one, you're just getting rows, so it's just looking for this video ID. It doesn't care about any other fields. But on this one, we do need to do the same thing. You got the little triangle, hit the refresh, and now we have it. What I want to do, which if you remember, whenever you get a video back, this PublishedAt is just this string. So it has the year, the date, the month, you know, it's there, but it also has the time stuff, which doesn't really pertain. I don't really care that much about it. So what I did was went over to Chat GPT and asked it to convert this PublishedAt to a different time format. So this is the prompt I used. The YouTube API provides a PublishedAt that is a string for the time. is there a way to convert that to a date that Google Sheets will accept? I want to convert it to just show the month, day, year format. And then here's an example of what PublishedAt would return. And I want to be able to update a Google Sheet row with that date format provided earlier. So it then gave me this information. So we're going to copy this, go back to your n8n workflow, and I already have it set up here. I created a node, a code node, which just has the published, and then this formatted date. This is actually what it's going to come out as. If you see down here, formatted published date. If you want to change this, this is where you can do it. So if you want to have the days first, you just cut this out, put it in here, move the date, month over, or if you want the year first, you can rearrange it however you want. And then these dashes is how it's going to separate. So if you want to put periods or slashes, whatever, but this is where you can modify the formatted date. And again, that's going to be what it actually returns, along with everything else beforehand. So what we're going to do is actually put this node after the consolidated tags. I'm going to show you why in a moment as well, because I thought of something else as I was editing. So we're going to drag it in, and then we're going to run this again. Make sure you're on just the from when clicked. Save it, execute it. It's going to do its thing. It's going to go through. It's getting the transcriptions now. And once it finishes, so once we get down to the end, the date uploaded, we want to go back to that convert PublishedAt to date, scroll down to the bottom, and then the formatted date, PublishedAt, and then you'll see that's what it's going to put in. So if I execute this step again, it now has that. If we go back to our Google Sheet here, we now have the date. And then now that it's in Google Sheets as this format, you can then format, go up to format, go to number. You can change the date. You can change it to a custom date and time. But before, when it was just that string, it wasn't changing whenever you try to change the dates here. So I wanted to make sure to include that. And then also the other thing I want to show, since this video is currently future dated, so it's scheduled to come out in a couple days, it does not have access to the transcript through the API. So what I'm going to do is actually add a branch so that it doesn't bother trying to get these transcripts and stuff if it's not accessible. So if we go back to n8n, what we're going to do is right here, right after the convert publish, give ourselves some room, hit plus to add, and we're going to add an if box or if node. Then we're going to look for, if we scroll down a little bit, we should see the status. So it's here, and then the privacy status. So right now it shows private. We're going to drag this over. And then we're going to switch this from is equal to is not equal to. So we're going to copy this because that's what it's always going to be. It's going to be private whenever it's future dated. And I'm going to put in here, if privacy status is not private. Okay, so if that's true, if it is not private, it will continue on the API route and do its thing. If it's not true, what I want to do is still update the Google Sheets with the information that we have available. So we're going to copy this end node, paste it down here, drag that over. We're going to rename this one as for private video. Whenever that's the case, it's not going to have access to the transcript, the key topics, or sponsors. So I'm going to delete those fields. I'm going to delete the transcript, delete the key topics, delete the sponsors. And then what I'm going to do is actually put in private video, future, or scheduled for future. So private video or scheduled for future date. So that way, when we execute this, we won't get all these no transcripts, no transcript provided, no sponsor. It will be blanks here, but then the transcript will say private video or scheduled. So let's test that out. We're going to delete all that again, save, and then execute. It's going to do its thing. It realized that the private C was set to that, and now it's down there. And now we see private video or scheduled for future date. It only bled over because the wrapping isn't set on here for the transcript. But if you look in the key topics, it's not there. So now, if you have future dated videos, you'll at least get something in this table, and that way you'll be reminded to come back and do this again. Let's see how the date updated shows 11/28 now. Whereas if I go to here, it's scheduled to go out on December 5th. Okay, so after further checking into the API, it actually does look like it does give us the date. So that's new to me. So under PublishedAt, under the snippet, it shows you the date it was uploaded. That's fine, that's great. But if we scroll down a little bit, under the status, we got the PublishAt field. So this is the date that I have it scheduled for and the time. So if you want to include that, we can. We go back to the work list, published, date published. So we're going to kind of do the same thing, but this time we're going to get the actually like scheduled date. So if it does go out. But what I'm concerned about is if I put in unlisted video, will that be there if I don't have it scheduled? So let's fix this first. We're going to fix this node just for consistency's sake. I'm not going to manually modify this. I'm going to copy it all, go over to Chat GPT. After looking through the YouTube API responses here, I realized that my logic was a little messed up. We scroll down a little bit. We now have PublishedAt, which only comes up whenever it is future dated or private in this case. I need to go into this convert PublishedAt and modify it a little bit. So I essentially went over to Chat GPT and gave it an example from both where it was public and unlisted. So I literally just copied the whole thing. I didn't need to, but I did. Anyway, I just asked it to modify it so that if it is published, it will put the published date there. So PublishedAt and then PublishedAt snippet. So we're going to put it in. We're going to test it out and see what happens. Because otherwise we were getting this invalid date for a video that was public already. So 11/28 is actually the day that this video, the information generator, went public. Whereas this one, I uploaded on the 28th, and then I have it scheduled to go on the 5th. So this one, when it's future dated, works fine. But this one didn't make sense to me. We're getting an invalid date. So we're going to delete all this out and make sure it works with the one that is currently future dated. Again, make sure you save. Okay, so again, it was uploaded on the 28th and then published on the 5th. So that's what it's scheduled to go out on, so that's good. And if we come in here and up it to 2, and then save and run it again, we should now see the second video pop up. The date uploaded and date published should now match. So again, the slash is just because I messed with the cell already, so don't worry about that so much. But now they at least both have the same dates based on what the API gives us. So once it's fully published, we don't know what date it was updated or uploaded. So now that I have that the date published and date uploaded and everything figured out, it's all working, at least the way I want it to right now. I got the private video or schedule for future date. That's all good. We're going to then switch this back so that I actually use the sub workflow. So that way it'll run more efficiently here. So again, we're just going to delete the connection there. We're going to reconnect these sub workflows. Make sure you save. If you don't save it, it's not going to work. I'm going to then delete these out. And then this time I'm going to run it with 10. Now, one thing I forgot to mention before, which I really wish they did, but I understand why. When you have these sub workflows, you don't see these executing at all. Like even if you have them on your own separate workflow, you don't see these running at real time. So the only way to be able to see that, you have to disconnect these sub workflows, reconnect to Google Sheets like I just did. That way you can actually see them running, get the information, drag it back and forth, yada, yada, yada. If you're wondering why you don't see these, that's why. But as you can see, they're all popping in here. Everything is looking good now. One last thing with the Google Sheets, if you actually want to rearrange these, so that way it's like from the beginning to the end kind of a deal. So like the first video upload will be first. You can switch this to set sheet to sort from A to Z. Just do it based on the published date. So that way it will be the earliest is first. And then it will scroll down and be all your videos. The last video you upload will be at the very bottom. Or if you want the opposite, do the opposite. That way it's not just based on where it was run and when it populated the sheet. That way it's actually based on the date. I know this video was already pretty long, but I felt like adding in this part to show you how I modify it and how you can modify it, and then also adding the date stuff. So hopefully that adds more to the workflow for you. Hopefully with me building it out semi-real time like that was helpful. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. Thank you for watching and hope you have a great rest of your day.